she shouldn't have said that because anytime you tell me I can't, I get up and I do it. So that particular day for me was what cemented my understanding that, listen, you are crazy, but you're different and you will be accepted. So I believe that there was always a calling on my life. I needed to say to myself, you are now going to depend on art and on music. And the only way you will survive is to be business, is to approach it like a business. It has to sustain you. I think enough is not done in that department for creatives, artisans, actors, musicians, writers, especially from Saint Lucia. We see songs or you see a product, but you hardly hear the journey. You don't get the stories.
Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey, the podcast where we share valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts and be part of this journey. Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you, whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation.
Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey, a space for inspiration, insight, and real conversations on entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Angela St. Denis, for this episode. I truly appreciate you taking the time to join us on today's episode. Our guest for today is a versatile vocalist, an accomplished songwriter, educator, and dynamic performer. He has shared the stage with the legendary musician Mr. Ronald Hinkson and captivated audiences at the Saint Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. A proud son of Saint Lucia soil, please welcome Nintus Magre. Nintus is a former Calypso king of Saint Lucia, a master lyricist and storyteller whose melodies and words resonate deeply with all who hear them. Beyond his musical achievements, he's also made his mark in the film world as a screen actor and writer in the award-winning film Shantaye's World. Welcome to the Begin, Build, Blossom family, Nintus.
Thank you very much, Miss Angela St. Denis, my longtime buddy. And
Yes, I also had to say I have the honor of saying Nintus, and I have friends from very long ago. We have a lot of history together, and certainly we might bring some of that out as we go through this episode.
In measured fashion, of course. And
Of course.
thank you for allowing me to grace this platform. The episodes that I have seen have been very inspiring, and I have yearned to be invited to benefit from the exposure, of course, and to be given an opportunity to share my story, as you have alluded to. I can say a few of those, and hopefully, both myself and the owners or creators of this podcast can benefit. And let me say this upfront before I forget, that it's an excellent initiative that you've taken.
Oh, thank you.
Give individuals, myself and others who will grace your platform, the opportunity to be seen, to be heard, and to inspire others.
Okay. Well, the Begin, Build, Blossom family is really appreciative of that commendation. And we look forward to hearing about your musical journey and the fact that you've alluded to others. So we certainly hope that we'll get some more recommendations as well.
Of course. I will definitely be recommending some individuals, putting them in your direction. I think enough is not done in that department for creatives, artisans, actors, musicians, writers, especially from Saint Lucia. we see songs or you see a product, but you hardly hear the journey. You don't get the stories and whatnot. So I think what you're doing is very, very much in place right now, especially as our festivals are growing and our artists are breaking new ground. So,
Okay. So, Nintus, I know you have a wealth of information, but we want to find out more about your passion for education, that musical journey, and how it all intertwines. So, to get things started, we will do a section called Rapid Fire. And so it's a fun section to get to know you a little bit better and maybe things that others may not know. So if you had to use a word to describe you as a child and a word to describe you now, tell us what they would be.
as a child, I would be reserved. Describe me now, I would say I'm a little crazy.
What happened? Because those are two ends of a stick, if we would say that.
I got to understand who I was and what my purposes in life were. So it needed me coming out of my reserved, I think, environment imposed self and to become the entertainer, the talker, the individual who wants to inspire others. And of course, have fun whilst I do it.
Okay, wonderful. So it's good to show that you've grown over the years because this is what that change.
I think I have.
Yes. Okay. Now, is there a book that you've read that you think it's worthwhile to recommend to others?
I'm a science major, so I would have read more education type books.
So what about a movie then?
My favorite movie is August Rush. It's about music. It's about this young man whose parents were musicians but got separated, and the music kept calling him, and eventually music brought the parents and that child back together. I mean, I watched it several times, and I would recommend it individuals too. There's a story there for anyone to be inspired by.
So what's your major takeaway from that movie?
Music for me is like plugging your phone in a charger. And of course, I think I can identify a lot with this young man, the trials that he went through, myself, understanding that there was a musical seed and an ocean there that was raging. And this was not the culture where I came from. You can't be a musician, but music was well consumed. And I always wanted to sing. I always wanted to express that side of me. And that was not a regular thing. It was unheard of from a young man. So sometimes I would hear things like, you sing like a girl, or stop singing, or whatnot. These little barbs that they would throw at you at the community level, where people generally don't understand that side of the child. And the young man in August Rush was like me. Those hurdles and although not exactly the same, but things that came in life to impede the music. But eventually you end up in this place. Myself, you being a Calypsonian, being able to write music, being able to be in film, being able to represent my country and my region through music and spread our message. This is where Angela and I'm sure you'll hear about it. So it became a replica of me and how I saw myself from a child and graduating into adulthood entertainment world.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, I'm certainly sure that some of our listeners can take away from that and use it as a measure of inspiration, that when you see a child in maybe expressing themselves in a particular way, allow them to be free, because you just never know where it will lead. Okay, so two more questions on our rapid fire. If you could visit any place in the world right now, where would that be?
I would go to France.
Why?
I don't know. Growing up, like Paris was the city of romance and art, and you watch TV and you see so much elegance, and it's not like the bustling New York, the football crazy Brazilian South American city. It's clean and.
Well, I hope that you get the opportunity to visit. I will not burst your bubble for you. And
you seem to have a slightly different, but what we see is that it's all. If not, I'll probably go to Venice.
Yeah, Venice is fascinating as well. They all are. Thanks for sharing that, Nintus. A fun fact about yourself and a favorite childhood memory.
I see food in color.
That's a fun fact.
I don't know. Before I taste the food, I see images in my head, the smell and all of that. So, and then you see me going crazy even before I taste the food. It almost looks like bad manners. Yes. I don't know how people take that. So I don't know if it impacts their perception of me at a dinner table, for example.
So that would definitely be a fun fact most people don't know about you.
And I hope that they understand why I behave the way I behave sometimes.
All right, Ninja. So the last one which I ask is, is there a memory of your childhood when you think about it, it makes you smile?
There are many, but I think my most treasured memory was the day that I wrote, well, now they call it the exit exams. And in my community, which is rural and agrarian, not many people went to secondary school. Most individuals left primary school and became farmers, some menial kind of job. And when I got the results that I had made it to the V4 Comprehensive Secondary School, which is the largest secondary school in the south of the island of Saint Lucia, my dad picked me up and put me on his head and walked through the community shouting, "My son has made it. My son has made it to secondary school." I mean, he created a ruckus. I had never seen my dad come out of character, break character, and show all that emotion. And to me, it was like, okay, you're going to school, do what you have to do, be a student. But to them, to the community and the whole community just came to the same kind of perception that one of ours. And since that time, it made me a beacon of hope in my community. They pushed me into all kinds of things. I became the president of the Drug-Free Club. That was the first thing. When they needed speeches, they asked me. The mothers and fathers, the church, I mean, everyone just saw, okay, here is the guy we can use as the example or as to do those other things that we have not been able to do. So that particular day for me was what cemented my understanding that, listen, you are crazy, but you're different and you will be accepted.
All right. Oh, that's a very interesting story. And it shed a light on a lot of things that hopefully we can cover within the time we have on the podcast. So as we move on to the begin section, as you're aware, we speak about business, we speak about entrepreneurship. Nintus Magre, he's a musician, he's an educator, he's a cultural activist. And we never ordinarily think of entertainment or being in music from where we come from as a business. So when did that kind of thought come to you that, oh, I'm a Calypsonian, I'm a singer, I'm a performer, I can turn this into a business?
Let me see. During the COVID was really the watershed moment where I sat and looked back at all of my accomplishments in music and entertainment, which was stemmed from church and from community, being a leader. For me, it was go inspire people. The Lord has blessed you with this. So share it freely, give because you have received freely. Until I sat during the COVID and said, but all of this that I have been doing, using my lunch money to record and make sure that I have material that the world can consume, what have I been getting from the music, apart from the fact that I was popular? There I was watching other artists online and television and everything on my phone. Why can't I be that individual gaining from it? So I decided to pull myself away from Calypso and I have not been in competition since then. And it's expensive to be in Calypso. And I asked myself, why am I having to take from my day job, quote unquote, which is teaching, to supplement the music when there are people making it big, for the want of a better phrase. The daily bread, their life is music. And then I met people like Sherwin Bryce, who admonished me and he said, Nintus, when I think of an individual like you, one of the better known musicians in St. Lucia, why can't I find your material online? Why can't I stream a song from Nintus? Where is your website? Where is your album? If I ask you for a song right now, can you give me access to your catalog? Where is your social media? And he was asking me things that they were pointed, and I knew that there were gaps in what I was doing. And I had always been told that there is potential, that I can be one of those, like a Michael Jackson or because they tell me I sing well. Now they say I'm an African with my Afro beats and everything. So let's leave that there. And he was saying, if all of your potential, why am I not able to click Nintus Magre on any platform, any search engine, and find your material ready to be consumed and purchased if I want to pay? So I had to embark on a journey on in what ways could I take this craft and remodel it into a business, begin to think business. Before I thought melody and harmony and rhythm. But now I have to think of marrying this with me being able to sustain it, even if I would have remained a teacher. But my music was supposed to keep the music, sustain the music. So my artistic side had to feed my artistic side and not borrowing from my other side.
So I wanted to stick a pin just for one moment, because you just mentioned education as an educator. And I think one of the things I would like us to capture is this person, Nintus. So tell us about Nintus, because we introduced you as a musician, we introduced you as the educator, but who's Nintus Magre? Before he got into business, before he started thinking like that, how did you start singing? How did you enter Calypso? How did you become a teacher?
I started singing with my grandparents when I was little. I don't know if I've shared that with you. I was always very ill, very sick. As a matter of fact, they had my coffin. We have wakes, so they had coffee and wood and everything stacked. They were waiting for me to die. And my mom had taken me to every doctor that we knew in Saint Lucia, and they could not diagnose what it was. And that was not growing. She told me all you had was a lot of hair. You had lots of hair and your eyes are bright and you were dark, but you couldn't walk. She told me I was almost like 2 and I was not able to walk. I was very thin. And every time I ate, I would regurgitate. And then at some point, blood was coming out. So they were saying, okay, he's going to die. And they took me to this old man that only last year I got a story about him. His name was James. And my mom said when she arrived, it was like the evening, and he was this community healer. And the man was sitting there, standing in his garden, looking out in the forest. He was in a forested area. And without turning to see, he said to her, in our local Creole, after the child has died, you're going to take him to me. Even before she said a word, he addressed her, not looking, like he knew that she was coming, and identified her father. She said, the man told her, Mr. Doyle's daughter, it's only after the child is ready to die you're taking him to me, when they had told you to take him to me. So my mom said that was just fear, freakiness and everything. She was ready to run. And he told her, do not be afraid. Go in my hut, very basic place that he lived, just a 1-room hut. Put the baby on my bed and I will come to look at him. I don't know what I can do because he's so weak and whatnot, but let's see. And my mom said the gentleman walked in, took, they cut out the calabash and they make these plates, and that's what he had. He dipped it in some water and put his hand in and rubbed the water from my head down to my feet, all over my body. And then he looked at her and he said, in our local Creole, bouchette, tima mai la tombe. Now they told me bouchette is diaphragm. So he said my diaphragm had shifted and there was not enough strength in the muscles to bring it back. And this is why I was unwell. And he rubbed me with just water and identified a plant and told my mom, go home, rub these leaves with castor oil and some other local oils and wrap it around my torso with the leaves for 1 hour. He was very specific. And then he said, after the hour, bring the child outside, unwrap his torso and allow the breeze to blow over his body. Both my mother and my grandmother, I have never forgotten the story. And my mom said when they brought me back in, as soon as my granny put me down, I stood up. I stood up on my feet and she let out a scream. They broke out in joy and tears, and the entire community now rushed home thinking that I was deceased. So they were coming to give their condolences only to see me standing in the living room. So their grief immediately transformed into joy. So I believe that there was always a calling on my life. And my granny was a singer. My grandfather played guitar and tambour. So music was part of my upbringing. I believe that if you listen to my music, you will hear a lot of indigenous and folk elements. And my involvement in the community drove me to want to inspire, to want to bring positivity anytime, whether it is merriment or love or faith and whatnot. So you would see that I try to build some aspect of the human being in my music. That for a long time made me very reserved, and because I knew I was always in the eye, always being observed.
Okay. So it links back to that word you used to describe yourself.
Yes. I was very circumspect sometimes, afraid of, I couldn't be myself a lot of times. Well, I don't know how to say it. I thought I wasn't being myself, but I think it was just a chapter. The beautiful thing was I found joy in seeing inspiration and inspiring others, seeing how people laughed and smiled when they heard me sing and this sort of thing. So this was me. And then I started coaching because we had tremendous talent in the community, but we had no one to coach the children. I started teaching in my own village. I was the first one to come back as a teacher.
Inspiring, I would think, for other young persons in the village.
Everyone called me sir. All the parents all called me sir, like I was their teacher. So if they needed a form filled, they would come to me. If they needed recommendations. And when I left home, I taught agriculture science, which our community was agrarian. I was not a trained agriculturist, but I was a science major. I bought a pair of boots and a cutlass, a machete, and my bag with my file, my tie. So see me in Wellington boots with a cutlass in my hand, with my side bag and my teaching material, with my tie, walking through the community. And the children would follow me. Like, follow me to the school. I always thought of it as, what would I want? What would inspire me as a child or as an individual? And how can I be that inspiration to a child, to a would-be somebody? So I presented myself as that.
Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you, whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation.
Okay, so they can see that there is a way that you can tie the two together, whether you have a tie or not. You can still walk with your boots or be in agriculture if you have a tie. So that's what I gathered from this message. And from you sharing, it shows, your connection to the community. it shows that your spirit in helping because of this calling that you felt. So that's what I'm getting from here. So linking that together with your music, how did you find all of that intertwined and bringing you to this point of taking, I can make my music sustain itself somehow. How do I do this? How do you build on that?
I used to sing with my granny, and then although the community would tell me, you sound like a girl, because I had this high pitch tenor when the boys my age were bass and more baritone and Michael Jackson and these were my idols. So I sang their music and they couldn't sing it because of course they didn't have that vocal quality. And every time I broke out in song, they would look at me, and in church, the folks would turn around like, who's that guy? And I thought that the same JU in the community, when they hear this, I thought that this was what was happening in church. So I would stop. And my grandmother would nudge and she would say, sing, they're looking at you. They like what you're doing. And then I would just sing my head off. So I continued doing that. I became a member of the choir. I taught music as well at my school. I directed the choir. And when I needed to reach the youth in the community, I realized that they loved music. So I decided to write the message, write it, put it in a song. And at that time, I was a member of the executive on the church youth department. So we created this event where we would allow the youth in church to write and compose, come together in groups, any genre, and have a community-focused concert where we put the messages, the gospel, the positivity, the inspiration in the different genres. And I started with ballads because I was a Michael Jackson guy, doing all the moves, and this other gentleman who's now the district education officer in one of our districts, he told me he dares me to sing Calypso because I can't sing Calypso, I'm a balladeer. So the following year, I wrote a Calypso. She shouldn't have said that because anytime you tell me I can't, I get up and I do it. So, and it was a competition. So the first year, that concert, he won singing Calypso and I was the runner-up singing ballads. There were, I think we had 8 contestants.
Okay. Was that the Gospelypso?
That was the Gospelypso. And when I came back the following year, I wiped the floor with him, with Calypso. He was surprised when he saw me. He said, you can't beat me in Calypso. I said nothing. And I surprised him. I think that's the year I sang Devil's Bride. He's sleeping with the Devil's Bride. And I came on stage depicting the Devil's Bride. So I had this long dress in church, long red dress with a split all the way up, with my mom's 6-inch stilettos, with 2 horns on my head, and lipstick and sequins, glitter all over the dress.
You created a very strong visual image for our listeners.
I had to defeat this guy. So, and with me being in theater in school, I was part of school drama and everything. I had to do what he would not do. He was very formal and run-of-the-mill message guy, very serious. And I had to bring the whimsy. I had to defy the odds. You would never see a guy on a stage in church because it is the church. The church had the event in a dress. So that's where the crazy, and that is where I realized that, listen, you can be yourself, a little crazy, and be acceptable, be inspiring. So that is what took me into the Calypso competition, the national Calypso competition, singing gospel Calypso, Gospelypso, we call it. And that is why I started writing indigenous music, folk music. I said to my church folk, listen, you may become upset with me, but there is a demographic my people, what they can identify with. I need to put the message in a form that they can receive it. So I went back to the folk music and putting in the positivity there. I went back to embracing our culture. And then I started recording it. I would save from my teaching. I would save the money and go in studio. Then Tony Wilkinson, tent manager of South, Calypso tent, he comes to judge one of our gospel Calypso competitions. And I saw him asking, who's that guy? Because he saw the crazy on stage. He saw and he told me that he saw the difference. He said to me, you were bold. You were just different from the others. Your energy resonated. You captured the audience. From the moment you opened your mouth with your vocals and your expression, you were not reserved. It was all about the message. He told me all of these things, which I said, okay. He said, I would like it to be in my tent. I said, but how will the Saint Lucian public, they've never seen this thing. No one has ever come from the church with go and praise the Lord kind of message on a Calypso stage. He said, let's try and see. So I joined the South tent, and my debut, I remember him saying in an interview, I have a surprise. It's different. I have this Calypsonian that I think he's good, and I want to bring that particular slant, that particular message in the public sphere from the platform of my tent. So Tony brought me in, and when I took the stage, I was singing that song called Confirm, and we need confirmation, and that other song where we're talking, look, I'm forgetting it now. But the thing is, when I stepped on stage and I started to sing, the audience sat stone cold, like transfixed. And I had never gotten a reaction like that. Anytime I hit the stage, people would get up and, they know me and they sat there transfixed. And in my mind, like, what are they thinking? What is going on?
So, I mean, this is all very insightful, and it's really good to hear how you shifted and entered into business. So we've heard how you began, we heard the building, and would you say that moving from gospel Calypso to the big yard, as they would say in Saint Lucia, was your biggest leap?
It was my most daring leap, because it meant that I would be at odds with the church. It meant that I would be speaking to a different demographic, not just the community, but the world. It meant that my message was shifting its scope from the farmers or from the young people that I knew or from the youth department, and taking it nationally, now from the national view into a global message. And even though the songs were all universal in their scope, my perception of what I was doing needed to shift. So I went into commentary, and I became more conscious of impacting a wider demographic, the world, instead of just the people. So taking that into consideration, would you say that you've entered a sort of blossom stage at this point? I am, I don't think I'm there yet. I think that I am, like you said, graduating, transitioning into that stage. This is why I am now in Canada. Would they say familiarity breeds or content? So I needed to leave where I was. I needed to move away from teaching. I'm currently unemployed, and I needed to say to myself, you are now going to depend on art and on music. And the only way you will survive is to be business, is to approach it like a business. It has to sustain you. If you think that you have the message and the potential that many have been saying to you, and you have realized it, I looked myself in the mirror, held myself by the ear and said, listen to what the folks are saying and see if in fact there is truth, there is veracity, and put it to the test.
Okay. All right. So I think that's a good approach. And certainly it allows you to now change the perception of how you saw yourself. So now it's a business. You're building it. Do you believe that in moving forward, you need a team you need an accountant, or is it something you can do on your own, or you can do it ad hoc?
Well, I can tell you most definitely I'll be making a pitch for Angela and Denis to be part of my team.
Oh, I'm honored.
Yeah, the only reason that I wouldn't have this particular resource with me now, of course, everything needs to be paid. There's a cost. So moving into a new yard, if you're going to retain services, there's a cost. And I'm just building my portfolio, building my resource base. But most definitely, I will need all the paraphernalia and the elements that make business successful. So accountant, promoters, agents. At the moment, I do all of that myself. I promote. Just yesterday, I uploaded one of my latest, so people can go there. When Angela shares the social links with the video that I will, that she's going to put on, you can see the material. So yes, you need to bring in, as you grow, from sole trader into corporates and bigger business, global, you definitely need these arms and legs that will supplement what you do and create the impact that you can.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing that. You shed light on a lot of aspects that are not normally considered by creatives or entertainers and those connections. So we're bringing the podcast to a close. From our discussions, I see we definitely need a part 2 because you've covered a lot of areas that we were not able to expand on. And then we know you're also in another business. So we'll bring that in the next podcast as well. So as we close, entertainment takes a lot from you. Have you at any point felt like, you know what, I've had enough of this. I want to give up?
Of course.
And what kept you going?
What kept me going was my love for music. You see, this is why I believe I never left or stopped singing, because as soon as I leave the classroom, I would put my headpiece and people would see me walking in town on the road singing. That was my escape from stress. From, if I have an issue, I write a song. I go to the music. It's my comfort, it's my placebo. And, that is why I never left. But when the demands, I used to leave work, go to rehearsals in Vieux-Fort. I am from Miku. And after rehearsals, I would have to walk home. You're talking about 11 p.m. Walking from Deriso Gap all the way to Blasha. Because there's no shuttle and I was not mobile. Rain, possible danger, that kind of thing. And I used to say, but why do you do all of that just to inspire people and you're not benefiting from it? So at one time I felt like, okay, am I really, why bother? Do people really appreciate it? Why am I not being paid? Using all those resources, is it worth my time? So I did feel that way. And, they called me the freeness guy because I gave people the habit of anytime they needed an entertainer, school, government, you can call Nintus. When they have paid concerts, they don't call Nintus. And I was told that was my fault, not theirs.
So would you say that this was a big lesson that you learned as you tried to grow your musical business?
Yes, I needed to let people know that it's okay to offer me at least bus fare. Because they started to feel that it was okay. I made them feel it was okay. Because I would hire a taxi, purchase my attire, buy my own water, my own refreshments, do the performance, and do the reverse to get to my home and go to work the following day. So it was me giving, and I needed to change that perception that, listen, I am a professional. If you ask me to do it pro bono, fine. I don't have to, but don't think that it's a must. And occasionally when you have like jazz or a paid concert, you can put me on the roster. So at least I can get a little bit to keep
to sustain yourself.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, Nintus, this conversation has been so insightful. I know that there's so much more we can discuss, but I want to make sure that you get in. How can our listeners reach out to you? How can they follow you on your channels? Where can they find Nintus Magre?
Nintus Magre is on every single platform. Listen, well, the craziness, the most crazy things, it's on TikTok. And blame my students for that. They said, so how come you're not on TikTok? So I listen, I was very circumspect of social media. I would hide, but then, and we can probably talk about that in another episode, when there was this young lady who was doing a degree at Monarch on social media marketing. And she said, do you know that I'm a fan? Much younger than myself. I said, no. She said, I am a fan. I love your music, but I can't find you. I can't have a conversation with you. Get on social media. You make no sense as an entertainer not having a social presence. So there's TikTok. You can get Nintus on TikTok. You can get Nintus on Facebook. Nintus is on YouTube. Nintus on Instagram. If you need to email me, you can email me at 4nintus@gmail.com. I am everywhere. I am accessible. And to pay me, check me. Let me sing at your weddings and at everything. Original, or I can do covers.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you so much, Nintus, for sharing all of that. As we said in the beginning, this was going to be a very interesting.
And one more thing, there's a storefront for artists. It's called Bandcamp, BANDCAMP. Go on Bandcamp and look for Nintus, and you can buy a copy of a song, like $1 or $5 or a whole project for $10.
So I need to go and look for you there and buy a song.
Yes, and share the link on your page so people can
I will do that
and buy something from me. The latest song is on Bandcamp. It's there. It's a soca. So go and check it out.
Okay. All right, Nintus. Thank you so much for joining us today. Listeners, thank you for following us.
Thank you, Angela. And you guys continue doing what you're doing. And I will definitely sing of your praises to others in the arts and tell them, listen, you're going to hear from Sherwin. I'll tell Sherwin Bryce, check Angela.
Okay, so thank you for listening to Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also get us on social media. We look forward to you joining us on the next episode. Thank you. This is Angela. Bye for now. A quick note before we wrap up. The insights and experiences shared by our guests are their own. We love creating space for real conversations about business and growth, and everyone's journey is unique. Therefore, this podcast is for informational and inspirational purposes only. It is not meant to replace legal, financial, or other professional advice. So, we encourage you to take what's useful, do your own due diligence, and build what works best for you.
Thanks for listening to Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey. We hope today's conversation gave you the insights and inspiration you need to move forward on your own path. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. Do you have feedback? We'd love to hear from you at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com. Join us again next week for a new episode.